Alright, I've been asked this question often enough to warrant a video. I want to explain why I have not used Kylo Ren, or many other Force Awakens characters, in my Versus series. My discussion will revolve around Kylo Ren, though there are other characters I could touch on. I'm looking at you, Captain Phasma, who never shot her blaster once, so I'm supposed to know how you would cope in battle with some form of objectivity? First, and most importantly, we have no knowledge of Kylo Ren in his training, though it was discussed several times in the movie and the novel. What we do know is that he was trained by Luke for an unknown amount of years, starting at an unknown age. He had some training with Supreme Leader Snoke, training which was apparently incomplete. All of this is extremely vague. Sure, we can speculate, but with that much unknown, the speculation will be too far-fetched, and there will be too much guesswork at play. Whenever I do any of my Versus videos, one of the first things I look at is a character's training. Sure, not all Jedi have complete and specific backstories to their training, like Revan or the Jedi of the Clone Wars, but we are at least familiar with their orders and what type of training they would have received. What's more, these characters have some sort of accolades, whether it was Yohani regarding Revan as, quote, as great as a Jedi could be, or a whole book dedicated to the Jedi's training during the Clone Wars. But the thing about The Force Awakens and this new trilogy is that we have none of that backstory. We have no idea what Luke Skywalker's new Jedi Order was, or what he taught, or what his curriculum was. And none of the source books give us any real accolades of Kylo's training. J.J. Abrams has created this mystery box culture around Star Wars, so there really isn't room for answers, just a whole lot of speculation. Second, we have no examples of his unhindered skills in active combat. The only time we've seen him actively fight, he was restricted by an injury and tormented by psychological turmoil. We've never actually seen him fight without there being huge amounts of circumstances. And the times we have seen him unhindered, he was doing some very impressive and substantial stuff. Many tend to forget that Kylo Ren took a bowcaster shot to the gut like a champ. A bowcaster that, when shot, was hurling mercenaries and stormtroopers several feet through the air. Yet Kylo Ren merely takes a knee, grunts, and goes on about his day. But even more so than that, and to me, more important, was the internal conflict Kylo Ren was going through. As stated in the novelization, following through on the act of killing his father ought to have made him stronger, part of him believed. Instead, he found himself weakened. There are clues in the movie that indicate Kylo's true power that tend to get overlooked. Things that we don't really need to speculate on, but can actually objectively compare to other Force users we've seen in the past. We are first introduced to Kylo by way of his power. Not only is he able to stop a blaster bolt mid-shot, suggesting great speed in his power, we also see him carry on a conversation for several minutes, suggesting immense control. Right here, the narrative is telling us that this guy is not to be trifled with and is quite powerful. Later, we see him extracting information from Poe Dameron. Again, something very impressive, especially when one thinks back to Vader and his attempt to extract information from Leia, which he failed to do. This has been overlooked, and is actually something more impactful than anything Vader has shown us from his mind probes. Even diving into Vader's story in Legends continuity, he used torture to extract information, not mind domination. Yes, one could argue that Kylo can't be that powerful if he can't break into the untrained mind of Rey, but Rey is a whole other problem in and of herself, perhaps even for a separate video. Seriously, I'm looking at you too, Rey. The movie also tells us that he destroys Luke's Jedi Order, something very similar to what Priest Vader did a few decades earlier. We have absolutely no context of how he did this. Did he defeat them all in single combat? Did he trick them into a thought bomb like Darth Bane? We do not know. Even when looking at the source books, there is still very little explanation around Kylo Ren, and his backstory is still shrouded in mystery. And that's ultimately the problem. There is too much we do not know about Kylo Ren, and any Versus video involving him and his combative abilities would be far too speculative, and by extension, lacking the objectivity necessary to create a fair and thorough analysis of the character, whether you favor him or not. So yeah, stop asking me until at least the end of episode 8, but more realistically, not until the end of the new trilogy, to be honest. Peace. Luke's open and calm mind allowed for a more adaptable fighting style, while Anakin's reliance on talent and aggression was a bit more rigid. No, why are you mowing your lawn right now? I I'm recording a Let's Play.